Welcome back to the Bleachverse, guys. So, as you all know, the flashback of the meeting between Ichibei and Yhwach was perhaps one of the most important anime exclusive scenes that we got for Core 2. This scene totally changed our perspective on everything about the 1000-year Blood War, and not only nuanced the early years of the Empire of Light, but also disclosed the important story of how Yhwach's Almighty was sealed. Most important, this flashback gave us subtle hints about the backstories of some of the most important parts of the Soul King, namely the Soul King's left arm. We see Ichibei use the Soul King's left arm to seal the Almighty by moving it into Yhwach, and this partly ultimately confirms that Ichibei was in fact in possession of the Soul King's left arm and thus able to use it as such. Aside from that, arguably the next most important part of the flashback scene was Ichibei's counter of the Quincy girl's reishi shots. Now, although this part is very brief, it sheds light to some possibly very important information about another important piece of the Soul King, which is his right hand, Mimihagi. In this video, I want to discuss how this may be the case, so stick around until the end of the video to find out my reasons for this speculation. So, in the flashback, we see the Quincy girl intervene once the conversation between Yhwach and Ichibei gets heated, and we see her fire some reishi shots from her gun, which are then blocked and reflected back to the shoot staffel. Now, initially from just looking at the screenshot of this part of the scene, I previously thought that Ichibei just uses Zanpakuto, Ishimonji, and perhaps his Reiatsu to parry them and return the shots, since we can clearly see that Ichibei has raised his Zanpakuto and pointed it towards the attack. However, after some retrospect and also considering Ishimonji's abilities, it seems unlikely that this is the case. This is because we somewhat already know the monk's Zanpakuto capabilities, which are to cut names in half and reduce their power, as well as the ability to take away the power of names. Therefore, it seems unlikely that it was his use of Ishimonji that made the reishi shots remain in a state of suspended animation as we see during this part of the scene. Furthermore, it is also unlikely that his Zanpakuto will reflect the shots back to the shooter exactly how they were fired. As such, this led me to lean into several speculations that I have heard and read about, which suggest that Ichibei might also have been in possession of the Soul King's right arm and use it during this moment. So, for starters, from the Can't Fear Your Own World novels, we learn that the noble families each kept pieces of the Soul King after they initiated this sacrifice. But, since it is intimated in the canon manga that Mimihagi fell from the heavens during ancient times, this confirms that the right arm was never indeed under the custody of any of the noble families in the first place. Therefore, this confirms that the right arm, just like the left arm, was likely within the Soul King's palace and most likely under the custody of Ichibei. This might possibly mean that there is a high likelihood that Ichibei had the right hand with him too during his meeting with Yhwach. This leads to the second deduction we can make from this, which is about the right hand's abilities. So, from the manga, we learn that the ability of the Soul King's right arm is stagnation. And with this in mind, it will seem probable that this may be how Ichibei was able to stop and converge all the shots that the Quincy girl fires. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, we also learn from the canon manga through Shunsui that the reason for the nature of Ukitake's Shikai's power of reflecting the enemy's attack is due to the presence of Mimihagi inside him. Therefore, this consequently explains how Ichibei was not only able to stagnate the shots but ultimately reflect them back exactly how they were fired, which seemingly suggests the use of the Soul King's right hand's abilities. And with those bits of evidence, I am inclined to agree with the word going around that Ichibei did indeed also possess and use the Soul King's right hand during his meeting with Yhwach. However, we can only wait and see if we'll be lucky to get some further nuance once Core 3 resumes. I am hoping that we can get an anime exclusive flashback on the backstory of Mimihagi, especially about his descent from the heavens into Rukongai district. Anyway, what do you think about this theory about Mimihagi that is making rounds? Does it seem plausible? I would love to hear all your thoughts, so let's keep the discussion going in the comment section. As always, if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more great content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.